You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis.
What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. Monday, March 16th, a snowy, blizzard-like Monday here in the Quad Cities and around the Midwest. So not a great way to start the work week, but Selection Sunday is done in the books. We have brackets. We have excuses to stay inside, and you have a good reason to watch Off the Air with Matt Randazzo today. A lot to get to on today's show. If you're watching us live on YouTube, we appreciate that. Thank you so much for doing that. Of course, the YouTube chat is going live right now, so you can always jump in there and be interactive with the show as well. And hopefully you've subscribed to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo on YouTube. It's free. It costs nothing. It helps us out a ton. So if you have subscribed, thank you. If you have not subscribed, please do so ASAP. That helps us out a ton. And as I mentioned, we've got a lot to get to on today's show. We're also live on X. X is always very, very good to us. So same thing on X. If you're on there, be interactive, chat with us, all those kind of things as well. You can check out the show on all your podcasting platforms as well. So whether it's Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Podbean, wherever you get your podcast, put in Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Listen to the show each and every day. It's much better than looking at me. Trust me. I promise you that. And a ton to get to on today's show. And last but not least, welcome to our viewers in Central Iowa on the WHO streaming app. We're on there every single evening. So appreciate you guys watching as well. And when it comes to basketball in the state of Iowa, you've got Iowa, Iowa State, and UNI all in the NCAA tournament. So a lot to talk about with the state of Iowa this week as well. As we mentioned, a great show to get to. We've got our OTA bracket challenge up and going. We'll got information on how you can get involved, prizes, all of that kind of stuff coming up in just a second. As for today's show, in a matter of moments, former Iowa Hawkeye Nicholas Baer and Tom Kakert will join us to talk about the brackets, to talk about Iowa being back in for the first time in several years. Nicholas Baer's former coach, what's that guy's name? Fran McCaffery, that's right. Fran McCaffery is in the NCAA tournament as well. We'll talk about all of that with those two coming up in a matter of moments. Also, later in the show, the Fighting Illini are a 3 seed. They're heading to South Carolina. They have a nice first round matchup with a very familiar foe, Fran McCaffery and Penn. So we'll talk with Mike Cagley about that coming up from the Illini Guys later on in the show as well. So plenty of Illini talk coming up. And also a little locally, one local standout is in the NCAA tournament. His name is Brock Harding. He's the former Mr. Basketball in the state of Illinois, former state champion with Moline, now down at TCU, and the Horned Frogs are in the NCAA tournament. It's for Brock's first trip to the NCAA tournament. We will chat with his dad, Scott Harding, United Township Athletic Director, coming up in just a little bit. What a crazy year it's been for, I guess, the University of Iowa fans, former players, current players. But those former players, it was a year ago right now that they were trying to figure out their next step. And for Brock Harding, it was a transfer to TCU, and it's worked out extremely well for him. So we'll talk with Scott Harding and what's going on in Greenville, because everybody is heading there. Illinois is heading there. TCU is heading there. Fran's going there. Riley Mulvey for Siena is going to be in South Carolina as well. So again, so much to talk about. Welcome to March Madness. It's officially here. Games will tip off on Thursday. We'll run down some brackets of where teams are going. Iowa State, a 2 seed. They'll go to St. Louis to take on Tennessee State. That's Friday at 1:50. Illinois, a 3 seed. They're going to Greenville, South Carolina. They'll take on Fran McCaffery and Penn. That game Thursday evening at 8:25. Iowa, a 9 seed. They get Clemson, an 8 seed. That game on Friday at 5:50. And we mentioned TCU. They'll take on Ohio State on Thursday at 11:15. I believe the first game of the NCAA tournament when it comes to the original NCAA tournament, not the first fours and all that kind of stuff. Coming up Thursday at 11:15. Women's stuff, we'll talk a ton of women's stuff tomorrow. So because the women's tournament starts a day later, we're going to focus on the guys today. We'll get to the ladies tomorrow. Kyle Huseman, maybe John Bonenkamp, others tomorrow on the show. But I will tell you, Iowa is a 2 seed to the surprise of nobody. They will host the first 2 rounds. They get Fairleigh Dickinson coming up on Saturday at around 3 p.m. Iowa State, an 8 seed. They'll battle the 9 seed Syracuse with UConn lurking in round number 2. Illinois, a 7 seed. They'll get 10 seed Colorado. And congratulations to Western Illinois. We had Allie Meadows on last week, former Central DeWitt standout, starting guard for Western Illinois. Go check that out if you missed it. Really fun stuff. But they are officially in the NCAA tournament. They're a 13 seed. And we maybe thought 15, maybe 14. They're a 13 seed. They'll head to North Carolina to take on UNC Friday at 4:30. So that's kind of the gist of things. But I've got to talk to you guys about what's coming up here. We started it last year. And last year we were so new to this whole thing that we kind of did it from the seat of our pants. A little more knowledge of what to do this year. But your OTA bracket challenge is officially up. You can find the link on my social media. Go sign up, get your brackets in. Fantastic prizes. A day rental of a party trailer from MPX, Snoop's Chips and Salsa, enchiladas, Godfather's Pizza. Crawford Company has a $50 gift card from Visa in there, and then also a Hungry Hobo with some prizes as well. How all of that will be divvied up, we'll probably do a couple different first place, second place. I can tell you this, and I like this. Even if you finish dead last, you will get some monkey bread from Godfather's. So if anything, the best thing I can tell you is, if anything, a cinnamon monkey bread to the dead last. So if you're the worst of the worst, you can still win something in the bracket challenge. Again, the links are up. I'll put it in the chat. We'll get it on all social media. Get signed up. You have till Thursday at like 11 to get signed up. It should be a ton of fun. Last year, I believe Mark Nessler won the bracket challenge. So we want to get as many people signed up as possible and have some fun with this as well. So again, thank you to the sponsors that are donating and all of those kind of things. Can't do anything on this show without some amazing local sponsors here in the Quad Cities. So get signed up for that. We'll get that up on the chat and everything else here in just a matter of moments as well. We mentioned the NCAA tournament brackets are up. Let's start talking about them. And when you do, we'll start in Iowa City, where for the first time since 2013, the Iowa Hawkeyes heard their name called in the NCAA tournament. We mentioned they are a 9 seed. They'll take on Clemson. The media allowed to do a watch party, something different. Fran McCaffery never really did that. So this was the scene yesterday in Iowa City as the Hawkeyes are heading to Tampa, Florida, to take on Clemson in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So a Friday game, Friday at 5:50 is around that is the tip time down in Tampa. And here to talk more about the Iowa Hawkeyes and a little Fran McCaffery as well, of course. 2 guys that know a little bit about Iowa basketball. So joining us now to talk a little bit about the NCAA tournament and the Iowa Hawkeyes are my panel of experts. Yes, it makes sense when it comes to Nicholas Baer, former Hawkeye, playing basketball at the highest level, and Tom Kakert is here as well. Good morning, fellas. Happy March Madness.
Good morning. Good morning.
It feels like January right now with this blizzard.
Dude, it's awful. But you know what? I tell people it's just a perfect opportunity yesterday to, like, everything got canceled for me. So it was like there's no reason to not watch the selection show and just enjoy March Madness. And for the first time in a couple of years, the Iowa Hawkeyes are back in the NCAA tournament. We'll start with them. I guess we'll start with Tom. The bracket comes out. People expected an 8, 9, or 10. Iowa's the 9 seed. They take on Clemson, the 8 seed. Your thoughts on just the first seeing the bracket and the draw that Iowa got?
Well, it took them long enough to get there. They had to be the last region, of course, just to make everybody wait. But you kind of knew at that point, okay, it was going to be there with Florida in the 8-9 game or with Houston in Oklahoma City in the 7-10 game if they fell to a 10. So seeing it pop up there was neat for those guys. It was, just seeing those guys react and seeing how happy they were. Ben McCollum was supremely confident that they were in, so he said he never had a worry. But I think this is a pretty good matchup for Iowa just because stylistically they match up with Iowa. It's two of the snail teams. Pace is 300 for both teams, over 300, and both are top 20 or top 30 in defensive efficiency and Ken Palm. So Iowa's 30th and Clemson is 20th in the country. So I think it's going to be a defensive battle. I think it's going to be pace is going to be make this game a close game going into this last 4 minutes of the game.
Nicholas, before we break down Clemson, having a selection Sunday to have, and Tommy, you can talk about it in a little bit in a second because the Iowa Hawkeyes had the watch and media was there and everything. How did you guys do selection Sundays? I know Tommy wasn't invited, probably because he's creepy, but I know you guys didn't do media stuff. What was selection Sundays like when you're sitting there watching? It's exciting for fans. I can't fathom what it's like for the players.
It's from a player's perspective. I remember my senior year. I think we were like the last team. We knew we were in, but we were in the same situation. It was like the 7-10. We were the 10. We were like literally like the last name on there. And the whole time you're thinking like, all right, hey, this region, here we go. Like we'll get called. And then all of a sudden, you're in, but it's still just like, I just want to know where we're going. I want to know where we're playing. So to finally have your name pop up there, even if it's maybe a little bit later than you would have liked, like just you can't beat it. That's obviously a goal from the start of the season to get to the NCAA tournament. And I think one thing our coaches always said was, this, like not every team gets to do this, right? Like it's a difficult thing to do, but like this is a celebration of us getting a chance to make the tournament and play in March, the most important basketball tournament of the year. So I think once you kind of know, it's funny because then from there we would just have like managers sprint to go cut up some film to like make sure that like everybody's all ready to go. They usually have a couple games already ready, but I know our coaches always want to like, hey, we want their last like 6, 7, 8 games, and of course they go and pour over the games for a good, however long, but until they can feel prepared and get ready. But it's a supremely awesome feeling, and excited for this Iowa team to get a chance to play in Tampa.
Yeah, Tommy, you were there. You didn't get to do this with the Fran teams. What was the atmosphere like? Fun to be part of it, I'm sure. But just the vibe in that room, and you mentioned for both of you guys, and I remember that, Nicholas. But yesterday there was a few Randazzo boys, maybe the younger ones, that was like, "Dad, are you sure? Are you sure they're going to be called?" Because it kept being longer and longer away. What was it like in Iowa City yesterday, Tommy?
I think everybody was just happy. They're excited, anxious to see what was ahead. Had some boosters there that were pretty excited about things. A lot of the athletic administration there supporting the team because it was funny because you had the men's thing and then everybody clears out and then you have the women's event right after it. So I think just it's pretty cool that both programs are in the NCAA tournament and they both got to have that moment where they could celebrate it in front of everybody, and appreciate Coach McCollum agreeing to let us in. Fran just didn't ever want to have those things publicly. It wasn't his jam, and that's fine. That's fine. It's each coach has to do what they're comfortable with, but I enjoyed being there and seeing the guys react and seeing how excited they got.
Nicholas Baer and Tom Kakert joining us on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. It's Clemson, Nicholas. I think I watched a little bit of them in the ACC tournament, but I'll be honest, I watched maybe 25 minutes of Clemson basketball this year, and I think that's a lot of what you said is going and looking at the film and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure the coaches probably already had a scout started or had looked at that, knowing that was an option. When you look at Clemson, what have you found out? What have you learned in the last 12 hours about kind of what Tom said, a very similar team to what Iowa looks like this year?
Yeah, for me, I mean, Tom hit on it a little bit. I feel like it's kind of just throwing up a mirror against this Iowa team for the most part. It's, wanted to control the pace a little bit, wanted to be a bit more deliberate, wanted to be a bit more patient. The one thing I will note is I think Clemson's center towards ACL in the ACC tournament. Yep. So Carter Welling tore ACL, averaged about 10 points a game. That's a pretty big loss. I mean, 10 points a game for a team that averages, I would imagine, right around like mid-60s, 70s, it's a pretty substantial loss from a scoring perspective. So they did, he tore his ACL, but they did still beat North Carolina in the tournament, right? So it's still a very capable team. I think one thing I would feel good about as an Iowa fan is I think we'll have the best player on the court in Bennett Sturts. I think kind of, going about things that way, if things get, close later in a game where there's fewer possessions, I feel like having the best player at the point guard position and across the floor is really going to pay dividends for this Iowa team. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. Honestly, it's kind of, Tom, I think you mentioned it too. It's like, very similar styles, but if we can play it a little bit better, it's more in our wheelhouse. I think that's something that bodes well for this Iowa team.
Yeah, they've got the Welling is a big loss. He's not only 10 points a game, he's their leading rebounder at 5.4 per game. So that's another thing. And they're not a huge rebounding team. They've out rebounded their opponents by I think 1.9 per game, and now you are taking out your best rebounder. So it could be an advantage for Iowa on the glass potentially. Their leading scorer is RJ Godfrey. He's 11.9 per game, 6'7" forward. I would anticipate Tavion Banks is probably going to get him in the game. Probably taking Welling's place is going to be Nick Davidson, who's averaging 9.6 per game. He's like more of a pick and pop big, from what I understand, 6'10", can stretch the floor a little bit, shoot the three, and then their point guard, Dylan Harper, is a veteran guy, senior, really been through everything. I think they've been to 3 straight NCAA tournaments. So there's been that experience. And that's maybe one of the positives from Iowa's perspective too, is a good chunk of these guys got to experience it last year. All those guys that were at Drake got to feel the NCAA tournament. So this won't be a new thing for them.
Nicholas, you kind of mentioned it a little bit when it comes to being prepared and kind of looking at that's the first thing scouts or coaches go run out, start scouting and all that kind of stuff. As a player, and even go back to that last 7 and 10 game for you, your senior year, how much, obviously the first game and where you're going is important. How much do you look, or when do you look at the entire bracket? Like, what does Iowa look and say? Because, it's been, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but it's been since 1999 since Iowa's made the Sweet 16. I don't know if everybody's brought that up. But, I think that's a lot of reaction is, what's next? First, do you look ahead as a player to, if we win, can you even do that? Very beginning, obviously you want to focus on your first game. And then 2, if there's a number 1 seed that I wanted to be against, isn't it Florida? And I'd almost rather be the 8-9 game against Florida than maybe the 7-10 game and then have to worry about Houston. So I guess first, what was it like as a player? And then did Iowa get, if they're going to be an 8-9 game, Florida's the team you want to have next, isn't it?
I think from a player's perspective, I remember it's almost impossible not to look at that next game, right? And there was a lot of times we were, in that kind of 7-10, 8-9, range a little bit. So we knew, likely going up against the 2 seed. So it's impossible not to take a look at it. I think one thing our coaches did a really nice job of emphasizing was just, guys, we got to stay the weekend. You got to win the first one. And the thing we look forward to about playing that first game is, we've been going against teams that have been scouting us for years and knew us really well, knew us inside and out, been scouting us all season. Now you're playing a team who we don't really know. They don't know us as much either. A lot of times I remember we would be able to run sets that we could run in December, but then got scouted out. And it's hey, this isn't going to work anymore. You can bring it back out in March, and I think kind of playing a team that isn't as familiar with you and you're not as familiar with them, it's what makes the NCAA tournament fun too. To your point, Matt, of all the 1 seeds, I think the 1 seeds this year are really good, and that's been the case the last 2 years. Yeah. And it's going to be a tall, literally and figuratively a tall task if we get a chance to play against Florida here. Florida offers a ton of size with Condon, Shinyulu, Thomas Houck, guys that are really 6'10" and above that can provide some issues. But also, same thing again. I still would think Ben Sturts is the best player on the floor, and if you have a chance to really slow down the pace, that's kind of the recipe for beating a Florida team. So I don't know if I still probably think I'd rather have Houston though over this Florida team just based on the size piece of it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have to be the top 8 team to get a chance to continue dancing. That's what makes it difficult to make Sweet 16 sometimes.
Tommy, did Iowa get a good draw, a bad draw? Well, I mean, if I told you Sunday at noon, that Iowa got 9 seed Clemson first, forget the seeding, but Clemson first and Florida's the next game, would you have been like, that's about right? Or is that a good draw, bad draw? Your thoughts?
I think it's a pretty good matchup, just style wise and just there were some problematic teams that could have been in that 8-9 game. Like I don't think Iowa would have loved playing like St. Mary's or somebody like that, just because they're really, really well coached. Not that Clemson's not well coached, but just they've got a system that really works, and it's been ingrained in them for a long time. Where Clemson, it's a big conference team. I think they're just easier to play against. I would have, Georgia, I think would have been in that same vein where, but Clemson's more of a system team than like a Georgia or, Villanova was one of them that was in there. And I'm not sure I would have loved playing them, but I think it's a good matchup. If you would have told me, can you pick one or two of the teams out of the pool that was in the 8-9 range, Clemson would have been one of my first picks for Iowa, just because I think it's a good matchup for them.
Nicholas,
I'd echo that.
Go ahead, Nicholas.
I'd echo that. I think the one thing looking at some of these other 8-9s, I probably would have rather had a Villanova team that's maybe struggling a little bit, potentially, but also, I mean, like if Utah State was an 8 and we were a 9, like that's one I would have had circled too. And but to your point, Tom, I think it's also like, sometimes it's avoiding some of the tougher teams too. And I mean this like unironically, I would not have wanted to play TCU. Like that's a team that's playing really well right now, won 9 of the last 11. Yep. Like I think that's a good team. That Ohio State TCU game is gonna be really good. Like two teams playing their best basketball late in the season. Yep. So I mean, from that standpoint, I think I kind of agree with Tom. Like Clemson, it feels like a good draw. It just feels right. Like it's like 8-9 in Tampa. That sounds about right for where this Iowa team was projected.
And Nicholas, let's be honest, Tom Kakert only cares about where he's going, and he's going to Tampa. So that's all. All that matters.
Second time in 3 months.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, it's that.
You used to avoid Buffalo too.
I know. I've done Buffalo.
I know.
We all did Buffalo, and that was when they lost that day up in Buffalo. Scott Weiss immediately turned to me and said, "We're going home right now." Like, and it was nighttime, Tom, remember? Like, it was a later game, and I'm like, well, we can stay. We got up at 4:00 the next morning just to get home as fast as we can because we're so cranky about the Iowa Hawkeyes. Nicholas Baer and Tom Kakert joining me right now on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. I want to talk about this team and where it's at, Nicholas, because you're a player, and, like, you want to make big runs in the Big Ten tournament. I get all of those kind of things. Bennett Sturts plays like every single game, and we've talked about it, and you've jokingly said that you didn't get the Bennett Sturts minutes that probably you deserved from Fran McCaffery. You didn't play 40 a night. They're gonna go 7 days without playing a basketball game. Do you like this as a player this time of year? Me, just being an old guy sitting here watching, thinks that like it's a nice rest for these guys to get recharged, rejuvenated before the NCAA tournament. As a player, do you like 7 days off? Is that too many? Bennett got banged up in the last game against Ohio State. Your thoughts on the time off a little bit and maybe getting rejuvenated before you go down to Tampa?
Yeah, I'll give you kind of from like a player rest perspective and also just kind of like from a personality perspective too. I think from a player rest perspective, at this point in the year, pretty banged up. The only person I could put close to a category of Bennett Sturts minute-wise was Jordan Bohannon. He was playing about 32, 34 minutes. And I remember just like, kind of after pretty much like taking a beating most of the Big Ten season, like having 6 days off where you can just kind of like recover a little bit, get your training, get your rest. Like, I think that proved really helpful for us. And I would imagine it would for Bennett Sturts too. I think, kind of looking at this last stretch or the last couple of weeks, has looked a little fatigued, which obviously you're playing 40 minutes a game. How could you not type of thing? So I think from that lens, sometimes I didn't love it in the season, getting a whole week off because it was just kind of like hard practices, and trying to keep things running. But this time of year, pretty cool. I'd also add like, a lot of schools right now are on spring break. Like it's a little bit of a different vibe around campus and around just the University of Iowa. Like there's not as many students there. You really just lock in basketball wise. The days are getting longer. All of a sudden you're practicing out in Carver and there's, sun streaming through. It's like, what is going on? We are really in March now. And just kind of like, that type of stuff. Like sometimes I remember we would practice in Carver and it was a 72-degree day, and all of a sudden it's like hot in Carver. It's a little bit different. So those are the kind of things that I remember just being like a privilege. Like I'm so thankful we get a chance to play in March and we get a chance to enjoy this season continuing on. So it's a little bit different, but I remember looking back on that week of very intense preparation, but also getting a chance to just enjoy being in the NCAA tournament for sure.
Tom, did you talk to?
Let me throw in. I talked to Bennett yesterday about his quad because he got kneed in the right quad, and it was pretty painful. He basically said he had a tough time moving around the next day. So, but he's been in the training room with Brad Cloy all the time. And Nicholas, you know how well Brad treats the players and gets everybody. And he's he was just bragging about how Brad is just focused on getting him healed up, and he feels so much better right now. So, and having that, it's a Friday night game, so you've got even a little more time to kind of recover and get that feeling better. So he's wearing compression shorts with a pad there, so it's protected somewhat. So I think he'll be fine and ready to go and raring to go on Friday at 5:50 when they tip things off.
You mentioned it, Tom. They it's 5:50, and I kind of joked on your podcast last night that, man, you can for me, Iowa doesn't play. You can enjoy Thursday games, and not as an Iowa fan, you can just enjoy Thursday. You don't have to worry about your team playing and into late Friday. And then when they win, because I think they win, they play Sunday later. Or, not later, but so you can almost, if you're that first game on Thursday and you lose, it just stinks because you're like, I don't want to watch basketball anymore. And Iowa's already done the first team.
Wasn't that what, stuff. Was that Buffalo? Was that the first?
It was a Thursday, game? But it wasn't super early. Okay. It wasn't one of the first games because I can just remember by the time we got out of there.
Maybe it was Birmingham that was the first game of the
that
day
was the
or
20
something.
That was 2023.
Yeah, 2023. Yeah, that might have been the first game or something. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going back home.
Well, and that's Buffalo was the same way. Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead, Nicholas.
Counterpoint. I remember. I think it was 2015-16. We played in Brooklyn. I think that was on a Thursday. We won. Yes. And you're just like, yep. We won. You can really enjoy it the Friday games. I remember just being like, hey, we're playing Saturday, and it's like, hey, it's kind of like getting your homework done early. It's like I can just kind of enjoy things a little bit. So
it was
both possible.
That was the Adam Woodbury tip-in.
It was game winner in the NCAA tournament. Happy for Woody. So.
Brooklyn was probably my favorite trip was Brooklyn. Covering the NCAA tournament, and it was cool. There's a story about Tom Kakert that I'll tell you about on a subway train. That I'll tell you about at a different time. We won't tell you here.
Favorite story.
I also lost my voice going out there. So Greg Armstrong, I had no voice the entire time. I had to Greg will tell stories how I'm coughing nasty stuff up during live shots and everything. It was a bunch of fun. Hey, we got to talk about Fran because we got a guy on the screen that played a little basketball and coached a little bit for Fran McCaffery. Watching yesterday, we texted a little bit during the game, and I think it was cool the reaction of Iowa fans on social media was by and large awesome. This is cool. Congratulations, Fran. That kind of stuff. I thought that was kind of cool. I hope maybe Connor was watching Twitter to show that all Iowa fans don't hate the McCafferys or anything like that. But as a player, and I love Connor. That's not a bash of Connor at all. Nicholas, your thoughts of seeing your old coach do it again and lead his fifth team to the NCAA tournament now with Penn.
Yeah, I think I put out a tweet something similar to this. Just could not be happier for Coach. I think having a chance to take, I think it's now 5 different schools to the NCAA tournament, which is only a select few of coaches have done. And I think also for him, obviously maybe leaving Iowa now in the best of terms, but also going back to your alma mater and doing this, I think is kind of a special thing as well. And I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone who's watched more Penn basketball than me this year. And I think being able to kind of see how this team's progressed, and this is kind of something that a lot of the Fran teams do, is finding ways to get big time performances out of guys that maybe you would not quite expect. They had a lot of contributors, but none bigger than TJ Power. I mean, 44 points, 14 rebounds in the Ivy League title game, and a really big game before that against Harvard too. So just super happy for the family for sure, but also, kind of an interesting matchup here against Illinois as well, a team that coach is very familiar with. So it's going to be interesting. I'm as excited as I was to see, Penn's name get called. I'm sure, it stands fairly different from, that university and get a chance to get back in the dance for first time in 10 years, I think. So going to be happy for coach. And we'll be excited to see him against the Illini here.
Tom, TJ Power was a guy that you told me about. And I mean, a lot of people knew about, but like, I know Iowa really liked him. He was a 4-star, 5-star kid. I joked yesterday, man, if Fran stayed and TJ Power came to Iowa, like that would have been fun too. But just watching Fran do that and the outpouring of support, I think, is the main thing. Because don't you feel like, am I right? Like it felt like the overwhelming amount of people on social media, Iowa fans wise, were like, "That's awesome." Yeah. There's again, like, never take away what Fran did at the University of Iowa. It was impressive. It was special, and I thought that was cool as well. Your thoughts, Tom?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a cool moment because I didn't know what to think how Iowa fans would react, and I think basically everything that I saw was really positive, and happy for him, happy for Coach Spurlock, who's on his staff, who's a really good guy too, and it's pretty incredible because their best player, Nicholas can speak to this, Ethan Roberts, the best player on that team, leading scorer, averaging 17 a game, doesn't play because he's got a concussion. So they're missing their best player, the guard, the Jones kid, who played a lot in the semifinal, rolled his ankle, and he was limited in the championship game too. So they're down like 2 key players, and they still found a way to beat the best team in the Ivy during the regular season, and are a really good team in Yale. So just a credit to Fran, and people who don't think he's a good coach, I'm just like, you don't magically do that. How about this? 2 former Iowa coaches are now coaches who've taken 5 different programs to the NCAA tournament. Him and Steve Alford.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Tom?
They're well traveled. That's all I know.
I saw that the other day. I was like, is that a good thing or a bad thing that they do that? All right, a couple more quick ones real fast. I want to get your thoughts on the brackets overall. Nicholas, I guess my first one for you is, do you have Penn beating Illinois?
Of course I do. My bracket's already filled out, man. Of course I do. That's like, that goes without saying.
I love it.
What I will say though, I mean, it's a 23.5 point spread
Did
for
you
a reason,
see that,
right?
But that's crazy, isn't it? Or no?
Yeah, that's way
maybe not.
That's too high. Well, here's what I would just. Go ahead, Tom.
Did you guys see that at the when Illinois played Penn State at the Palestra earlier this year? Fran showed up. He and Brad Underwood are really good friends.
Brad's not happy. Brad does not like the fact that, I mean, and I don't think it's because of the friends thing. I think it's because, like, I bet you Fran McCaffery could write a scout right now, like off the top of his head, about Illinois basketball and the tendencies of Brad Underwood. Like, you want to get out of the conference. Like, that's the beauty part of the NCAA tournament, is like, get me away from these teams, these guys that know me, these coaches that are really good. And you go to the first round of the NCAA tournament and there's Fran McCaffery, and Brad's probably like, what the hell? Like, how am I supposed to? But anyways, Nicholas, you got them all filled out. I love the fact that you do that.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say the same thing, Matt, is like this, obviously these 2 coaches know each other really well. I think, the keys for Illinois likely going to be rely on their size. I think the main way I can kind of see Penn, sticking with this Illinois team is if Illinois kind of shoots themselves out of games pretty much, which is kind of what happened a little bit against Wisconsin, right? Just relying too much on the 3. But, I mean, it's going to take a Herculean effort from TJ Power, but again, he's shown that he can, put up 40 points. And I think it's just, it's going to be interesting to see like how I think Coach McCaffery lines up defensively. I wouldn't be surprised if they zone this team a little bit as well. This Illinois team, kind of just force them to shoot, hope they get a cold shooting night. But I would imagine Illinois is going to try to go back and get a lot of offensive rebounds, which they have all season. So it'll be fun. I'm personally excited to kind of see these 2 coaches go get back at it.
How far do you have Iowa going, Nicholas? And what's your Final Four since you've already done that bracket? I feel like
Sure.
Nicholas is like that 10-year-old that like prints his bracket off right away, and in Penn he's just like, let's go, let's do this.
Well, this is interesting. I discussed with my friends. I was like,
That's what my kids did.
I had a discussion with my friends, like, do you guys fill out your bracket right away, or do you fill it out like, take a day, take 2 days? And some of my buddies like, I take a couple days, look at it, I'm like, I just dive right into it. Let's just right off the cuff. So no, I think I was going to win this first game for sure. I think, going to be a tough game against Clemson. I think it's going to be pretty tough to beat this Florida team. I think the best way that you can have it is, or that could advance the Sweet 16, is just relying on kind of Ben Sturtz's excellence and, really keeping this Florida team off the offensive glass. I think that'd be the kind of key, couple things there. But again, all the emphasis is on kind of winning that first game, staying the weekend, things of that nature. I think in terms of Final Four, and Tom, I'd be interested to kind of get your thoughts on this too. Like last year, super chalky, like all the 1 seeds, everyone kind of advancing. I was really impressed with, I kind of thought going into this week, I thought it was going to be something similar of like, I was really impressed with kind of all the 1 seeds. And I felt like the 2 and 3 seeds was kind of like a tier below. But then like Duke's kind of like limping into the tournament. Obviously they won the ACC tournament, but some injuries. Michigan loses to Purdue. This Florida team, got run out of the gym by Vandy. So I have a few different kind of Final Fours, but I think my biggest takeaway is I don't think it's going to be as chalky as some people might think. So I'm not sure if, Tom, if you kind of had a similar analysis as well.
What's interesting is I looked at the point spreads and I saw a lot of 20-point spreads, and I didn't see those the last couple of years, and that's just telling me that the people who set those lines believe that there's going to be some blowouts. I think there's some interesting. Akron looked. I watched them play the other night. They look like a dangerous team. I think Duke is vulnerable. St. John's probably wrongly seeded the way where they are. I could see them coming out of that region, in fact, and beating Duke. So, but I did go kind of chalky with my national title pick of Arizona. I just think Arizona is the most complete team right now in the country. And how about that Iowa State Arizona game the other night? Boy, was that a fun basketball game.
It's like Arizona has their number when it comes to buzzer beaters. A couple years ago, I think maybe last year, was it Caleb Love knocked one down from way downtown. It felt bad for the Cyclones, didn't you, fellas? Like, Nicholas, did you have trouble sleeping on Friday night after watching that buzzer beater go in? Did you just it killed you, didn't it?
I just had the biggest smile on my face after. I mean, you want to talk? I would say, like, obviously I was happy with that result, but I think that was the best college basketball game of the year.
Yep.
And I think the thing that's really cool is, like, in Kansas City, a lot of Iowa State fans there. Like, that atmosphere was awesome, and to kind of have it go down to the wire with some. I was most impressed with the shot making, like between both Iowa State and Arizona, making some really tough shots there late. So, was really impressed with that. I will. Tom, I'm going to push back on your Arizona pick, by the way. I think Arkansas is going to beat them in the Sweet 16. I think that's kind of
okay.
I'm going out on the limb on. So I think, it's for Arizona. I feel like they're going to be hard done here. You either get an Arkansas team with potentially one of the top 3 or 4 guys in ACUF. They have the size that can match up with them.
ACUF's great.
Or you get Wisconsin, which I feel like Arizona has just been tormented by Wisconsin over the last 15 years, right? And the team that can just, they could make 23s and could just, outshoot them a little bit. So I think they kind of got a tough draw. But my Final Four, I actually have Arkansas going to the Final Four. I only have 1 seed. I have Michigan going to the Final Four, UConn out of the East, and then kind of if you're looking for like a trendy pick to make the Final Four, I'm looking at Vanderbilt in that South region. Yeah. So I think they can.
Good call.
They can potentially make a run. So just, Matt, if you want to I know you have like a cool setup in your basement with all your boys. If you just want to put those 4 teams into the Final Four,
did I show you that?
That's perfect.
The boys,
you showed me that, but I wasn't sure you showed the world.
And they put all the I'm thinking about moving the show downstairs for Thursday and Friday and doing it with the backdrop being the bracket that the boys did. I thought they did a good job with it, and they didn't fight and kill each other while doing it. Tom, give me your Final Four before we let you guys get out. By the way, both these guys.
I don't remember.
Oh, you don't.
I don't remember my.
What's your championship game?
I'm trying to remember.
You had Arizona though.
Can I ask a question? Maybe we can close with this.
Yeah.
We can close with this. Is this the year the Big Ten wins a national title? Is this the year Michigan finds a way Illinois. I was really impressed with how Purdue came along. Do you guys think this is
How
the
about-
year that the Big Ten?
I think it's
Purdue
Michigan or
is-
bust.
Purdue is wild because a week ago I would have said, there's one of your teams that's going to be out before the second weekend. They were just floundering, losing it. They lost 4 or 5 times at home this year, and sometimes substantially. I mean, the Iowa State loss was substantial by margin, and now what Purdue needs is just to play in neutral sites. They're undefeated in neutral site games.
They looked bored.
I think they're
during the regular
7-0.
season. They looked bored during the regular season, if that makes any sense. And when it finally was like, it's a veteran team that's like, and it shouldn't be, but like when it finally got to be like, okay, it's tournament time. But think about this. They were the 7 seed in the Big Ten tournament, and they're a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, which is wild. Nicholas, I would love to see the Big Ten win one. I think it's Michigan or bust. I don't think Purdue might be able to get to a Final Four, but I don't know if they can win it all. Illinois fans are going to hate me for this, and they can beat anybody on any day. They really can if they play well, but they're just too inconsistent. They were up 15 against Wisconsin. I know it was in the first half, but they were up 15 against Wisconsin, and they lose that basketball game. Their inconsistencies, and Nicholas said it best, like they can shoot themselves out of games because they got 7-footers that shoot more from the perimeter than they do from inside, which is wild sometimes as well. Both of these gentlemen, I'm forcing to get into the off the air bracket challenge so you can track the great Nicholas Baer's bracket. You can only put one in there. I don't like. Are you one of those guys that does like 7 and you're like, oh, in one of my brackets I have this?
I will fill out multiple brackets, but only one submission per bracket challenge, right? I don't have multiple in there. It's like, hey, this is my bracket. For this one, Randazzo, you're getting my best bracket.
I love it.
The number 1 top tier bracket out there that I have. So.
All right. Nicholas is bringing you his best. Tommy, I always appreciate it. Hawkeye Report has a ton of great stuff. Tom and I and Kyle recorded a podcast last night as well. So go listen to that during the day and get ready for the madness. Boys, enjoy it. We'll catch up soon, I'm sure.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right, that is Tom Kakert and Nicholas Baer here on Off Day with Matt Randazzo, talking a lot of Iowa, some Fran McCaffery in there as well, and then just the brackets in general. Make sure you get to anywhere on my social media. You can get the link and get signed up for the OTA bracket challenge. Win some great prizes here on the show as well. We're just getting warmed up. Coming up after the break, we got several things to get to. Our good friend Mike Cagley from the Illini Guys will join us to talk about the Fighting Illini and a matchup with Fran McCaffery in the first round in Penn. Also, TCU is dancing, and Brock Harding is in the NCAA tournament for the first time. His dad, Scott Harding, joins us as well. A lot to get to. You're watching OTA on a blizzard-like Monday right here in the Quad Cities. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo, now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high, each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfathers is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a blizzard-like Monday here in the Quad Cities. Thank goodness for basketball and March Madness, or you'd look outside on a Monday and be like, why am I even doing life? But basketball season and March Madness is in full swing. Of course, we had Selection Sunday yesterday, and for the first time in his career, Moline's Brock Harding hears his team's name in the NCAA tournament. Brock is a winner at the highest level, of course, winning a state championship at Moline High School. So for Brock to be back in the NCAA tournament is a big deal for him, the Quad Cities, and of course his family as well. And unfortunately, he has to put up with a dad like Scott Harding. He joins us from United Township High School right now. How are you, my friend? Happy Monday. Good thing you're on spring break. You don't have to cancel a bunch of stuff today, do you?
Yeah. Nope. We had some stuff planned today, but we moved it last week based on the weather, not Death Storm 3000 that we got.
Yeah, it was nasty. First and foremost, congratulations. And I kind of said it when we introed the segment. I don't know of too many more competitive people, I almost said kids, but people in the world than your son Brock. To see him and TCU hear their name called, and it wasn't a surprise, but to be in the NCAA tournament, what it mean for him, what it mean for you as a dad to watch his son and his team get called in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, it's outstanding, right? It's every kid's dream. Family wise, we were excited for him. We used to always get him out of school sick. Always. I was always on spring break this week. And every Thursday I would go to, when he was in elementary school, I'd go to Hamilton, walk in there, and they would look at me, Brock's sick. I said, yep, Brock's sick. Got to take him. And we'd go watch the NCAA tournament. And he would always say, Dad, I'm playing in this. And I'm not kidding you. This isn't it's just really what we talked about all the time. And sure enough, so came to fruition and pretty exciting times.
Yesterday, I believe, was the 365 days or the year anniversary of Fran getting let go at the University of Iowa. A lot of people went into the portal. I don't know if it was, I'm sure Brock was a couple days later, but if I would have told you a year ago that this is what was going on, what would you have thought? Because the future was cloudy, I think is fair to say, a year ago on this day. Take me back a year ago, take me to now, and not just Brock, but as a family, there were so many question marks this time last year.
Obviously, tons of uncertainties, right? The one thing through it all, though, Shannon and I, and even his older brother Brody, we talked like, I don't know what's going to happen, where he's going to end up. We had a lot of uncertainties. He didn't. He was like, it's going to be fine. I'm going to go somewhere. We're going to be good. Like, he was just adamant about it. So he trusted himself, and maybe to a fault at times, but he doesn't probably lack a lot of confidence. So he was comfortable that it was going to work out great. Family wise, we were just okay. So, fast forward at 365, 70 days later, whatever it is. Yeah, it's worked out really good. You couldn't be happier. And it's easy to say you're really happy because your team's in the NCAA tournament, right? Oh, I made the right choice. Prior to any of that, midway through this season, he's made the right choice. Just the people there, the staff, the play. I mean, it's awesome. It's a great place. It's a phenomenal place. And again, it's easy to say that now when your team's in the tournament and, all that stuff. But we would have said it if they didn't make it. We would say the same thing.
We talked to him before the season, and he kind of said that, echoed that love it here. This is a great place. Love Coach Dix and everything that was going on. And then of course they start the season, and he had me. He had me bought in. I'm like, TCU's gonna be good this year. And then I'm like, let's see. I'm like, that New Orleans happens, and
Master P. Master P.
But you can see through the year, Scott, like the victory against Florida and Wisconsin. And the way Brock played there, but the Big 12 was a gauntlet. And I kept telling people, like, forget about New Orleans. It's a bad loss, but like they're going to have so many chances to make up for that and then some in that league. You could tell by mid-season, even the holidays, that this was a good basketball team. When did you realize maybe it was early, but when did you realize that this was an NCAA tournament type team? Obviously, Brock's going to tell you that because he's the ultimate confident kid. Right. When did you see it? When were you like, okay, we're going to be playing basketball in March?
Honestly, when we played Michigan at home and Shannon was down at the game, Brody and I were watching the game together at my place or our place, and we weren't sold like prior to that. Like, hell no. And Brody's like, Dad, I don't think they're very good. I'm like, yeah, I think you might be right. And then all of a sudden we're watching and we're like, wait a minute, they guard. Like this defense they talk about does work. They do guard. They do these things. And they do rebound being undersized, and I do live with my mom, and I was thinking of spitting an Eminem lyric at you right there. No, but they do, and like that's kind of when it hit. And then granted, there's peaks and valleys, right, throughout the season, and there's question marks, and then you have your clunkers, and then something really good, and then a clunker, and then But no, but to be honest, though, what is it? Early February, maybe late January. They had a clunker at Utah, I think. And I'm like, oh boy, no, Colorado, yes. And they just got boat raced at Colorado, and I'm like, this is not good. You can't lose there. And then all of a sudden they stayed the course, and yeah, I was down there last Saturday. Obviously, we went to the Big 12 tournament, but the Saturday before their final game, the Cincinnati game, and they were pretty much in because they'd already beat Tech on that Tuesday before, which I didn't think would happen. And then I went down to that last game, and just the vibe, not even after the game, just before the game, around some of the guys, like just a good vibe. Like, yeah, no.
One of the hottest teams in the country, I think 9 of 11. Real close to beating Kansas in the Big 12 tournament. And you look at it, and they get that 8-9 game, and you always look ahead to, what could be next, but you got to win the 8-9. Yep. Ohio State's playing really good basketball, but talk about like the two really good basketball teams that are playing probably their best basketball. But you look around the country, Scott, and there's not a lot of teams that are playing better than TCU right now when it comes to resume and wins they've gotten recently. They went to Texas Tech and won. That's hard to do. They're playing good basketball.
Yep. They are. They're playing really good basketball. And obviously this is, the time where, they will obviously survive and advance, all that good stuff. But you got to be playing your best basketball this time of year. And defensively and being in this league, like the Big 12, and obviously all the P4 conferences are really good. I don't mean that. But it is an absolute gauntlet. I mean, it just is. And so they're prepared. Now, granted, you're going to go out the first game, and here comes Bruce Thornton and company, and you got to figure some things out, right? But I just like our chances. I like where those guys are at, and just listening to what Brock says. Like, yeah, no, it's exciting. And this is a loaded. They're all loaded, but selfishly, we've got, we're going down Wednesday. We get to watch, obviously, TCU, UNC, Illinois, Duke, Fran, Penn, and then Riley Mulvey with Siena. Like, it's awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about that because Fran gets in yesterday. And before we talk about Fran, I think, and I know Brock, the way that, like, just talking to him before the season, it's turned the page, like, all TCU. I think Iowa was a distant pass. I mean, and not in a negative way, just like, hey, I'm all in. You go all in here. You're not looking backward. But I think throughout the year, he's keeping his eye on, and I know this, other teammates, if that makes any sense. It's not about the university and that, but it's so to be able to like be in there, and he's always watching to see. You mentioned Riley Mulvey and what Fran's doing and all those kind of things. Kind of talk about and you as a family as well, the relationships that you guys have built. I'm sure you're watching the other parts of that team that all scattered about the country last year at the end of March.
Absolutely. I mean, start with Price, right? Price just went berserk this year. It was so awesome for him. And obviously Brock's in contact with those guys all the time. Those are his buddies. I mean, granted, like you said, Iowa, it's not Iowa. It's just your friends, right? Your buddies. And, thinking of, is Brock, anti? No, not at all. And if you think about, like, is Brock pissed at Iowa? Well, no, those people, everybody at Iowa, I mean, he knows played with one of the guys, right, in Cooper, and doesn't really know anybody else there. So there's nothing, there. So I kept track of Iowa. When they're on and I didn't have something else to do or mow or something, I would watch them. And then, but Brock would obviously talk to Owen and Josh all the time. Desante Bowen, who's at St. Bonnie, they got to the semis, right? So he talks to him. Riley Mulvey sent him a text. He doesn't talk to Riley a ton, but Riley sent him a text, said, "Hey, see you in Greenville." And it's just, if you know Riley Mulvey, it's just that Riley Mulvey's Riley Mulvey. He's awesome. Yeah. And then with Fran, right? He sent Fran a text. He said yesterday right away, he was fired up, and Fran responds right away with, "Thanks, my boy." That's Fran. But yeah, no, he keeps track and excited for all those guys. Sad for Josh. And obviously Josh went through a ton this year, basketball irrelevant, right? He went through a ton of stuff in life. And so it was a hard season on him, and all those guys. So no, he keeps track of all those guys.
I got to ask you about Fran because you can't be surprised. I know that I think during the recruitment and even while he was at Iowa, Fran McCaffery, you were a Fran guy, are a Fran guy. You can't be surprised that dude's led another team to the NCAA tournament. And it to be his alma mater has to just be even cooler. Did you watch this weekend? And they're just playing good basketball right now. And of course, to get Illinois and Brad Underwood is just like it's you gotta enjoy. When is that game? Is that game after TCU?
It's later. It's that night, Thursday night.
Okay.
So yeah, it's Thursday night. So we
go
play
get
early
a win and then go enjoy. You're gonna.
Abs.
I mean, a family that grew up Illinois fans and a family that played for Fran. Talk about Fran and what you've seen from him this year. You got to be happy for him.
Oh, extremely. But here's the thing too, and there's a lot of, obviously, everything has a shelf life, and there's a lot of haters and a lot of whatever and keyboard wizards and all those good things. People are irrelevant in life that think they know a lot. But he all season he's been in contact with Brock, not like recruiting wise, nothing like that. Just like, hey, great win today. Like, just like that's him. Like, he called him after some game. Like, that's just Fran, right? So hard not to root for the guy. And I watched that whole game yesterday. I mean, the overtime through all of it. I was just excited for him. I mean, that's really, really good. I mean, he's a great dude, and he's a great coach.
He's one of the best of the best. Scott Harding joining us right now and Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Before I let you go, I got to pick your brain about basketball stuff. Have you done a bracket? Are you a bracket guy?
Yeah.
Okay, so who's your is TCU in your Final Four?
Hey, no, I can't do that. I stay away from that purposely. So, but here though, there's no comparison. Yes.
At a small school now.
Yes.
At a small school now. They're at a big school playing in the big time. Before I let you go too, talk about this as a family this weekend. You're going to pack up. You mentioned the site and Greenville and all that. What are the plans? Who's all going?
Oh yeah. Hey,
listen.
You're
not splitting stuff up anymore, right?
No. This isn't divide and conquer. This is all hands on deck. But no, like, I had another thing with my buddies. Selfishly, like, I remember last year I was with them. We always meet the same place on Thursday, watch games all day, right? From 11 till 11, Thursday, Friday of this week. And I said, I don't want to be here with you sons of, anymore. I don't want to be here with you. I don't want to be here with you. So first of all, I'm fired up. I don't have to go there with our OG crew and watch the games. I'm going to get to miss them. But no, we're leaving Wednesday. Literally last night, we kind of had an idea. Brock was pretty confident that they would go wherever Duke was because they played the other number 1 seeds. Yeah. So he felt pretty good that he would go where Duke was. So we had them all loaded up of the different airports, different places. So yeah, no, we're out Wednesday morning, get there around noon, coming back Sunday evening. I mean, it's on. This is so fun. Yeah, this is outstanding. Best time of year.
Enjoy the heck out of it. You mentioned like taking Brock out of school. It reminded me of a little quick story. When your son was playing for a state championship, my son, who unfortunately watched a story about your son shooting early in the morning and had my ass up early, didn't equate to the same success yet, but he was coming back from the Big Ten tournament and Moline was getting ready to play for, semifinals and state championships and all that. And Iowa and Illinois lost quickly. So I was coming back from the Big Ten tournament on a Friday early and in Chicago. And I'm like, well, hell, I'm not just going to go back to the Quad Cities and and I'm joining Corey and Camille at the time
Yep.
down in Champaign. So I call my wife and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go home, shower, pack up again. I'm going to head back down to Champaign. I'm like, I'll cover this stuff tonight. And she's like, no, that's a great idea. I'm like, do you mind if I go get Charlie out of school? And she's like, absolutely. So I just showed up at school, told the front desk what I was doing, knocked on the door to the classroom. I said, hey, you want to go with me to Champaign? He's like, when? I go, like, right now, get your stuff. Let's go.
Now.
Awesome. And those memories.
That's
are like,
so awesome.
And then, of
Yeah,
course,
those are
they won
things
the
you don't forget.
semifinal. They won the semifinal,
Yep.
and they played in the state championship. Next day, he went with me. There may be a fun picture I'll send you of Brock and him
Okay.
at midcourt. They may have been doing something to an Illini logo that they shouldn't have been. Anyways, I will send that your way. But I love the story because this is it, Scott. You grew up taking kids out, watching, and you're living the dream. So happy for you.
It, man.
Happy for your family. Obviously more happy for Shannon than you because she's an amazing woman and you are you. But enjoy it. Tell Brock I said hi, and I'll bug him after they go to the Sweet 16 in the Final Four sometime. Okay?
You got it, my man. I appreciate you, Des.
All right. Appreciate you. That is Scott Harding, the athletic director over at UT, but more importantly, father of Brock Harding. Brock getting ready to go to the NCAA tournament with TCU. So a lot of fun. And what a year it's been. Like, plain and simple, 365 days ago. And I think Scott was even on the show right around this time last year talking about, like, hey, I think they were coming back from the Big Ten tournament and he didn't know what was going to happen and all of those kind of things. And now to make the move to TCU, and it works out for a lot of transfers, doesn't work out for some transfers. For Brock Harding, he's found himself a home. He's playing in the NCAA tournament, and we will have our eyes on the very first game of the day, I think, on Thursday. So we will have our eyes on TCU here in the Quad Cities, and a lot of Moline fans and Quad Cityans will be rooting for Brock Harding. Iowa fans, I don't know if they're rooting for or against. You guys can decide on your own when it comes to that kind of stuff. So we got more to get to. Coming up after the break, we'll talk about the Illini. So today, all men's basketball. We'll talk about the Illini. Mike Cagley from the Illini Guys will join us to talk about their matchup going down to South Carolina, the 3 seed, Fran McCaffery, and a lot more. And then coming up tomorrow on the show, we will focus a lot on the ladies. We'll talk more about Iowa. We'll have Kyle Huseman, John Bonenkamp, kind of talk Iowa, take a closer look at Iowa State and Illinois women as well. So that's tomorrow. And don't forget the off-the-air bracket challenge is up and going right now. Head to my social media. So on Facebook and also at Matt Randazzo on Twitter. The link is right there. Click on the link and you can get into the bracket, fill out your brackets, and then win great prizes from our awesome sponsors here on OTA. We'll have more information about the actual prizes themselves tomorrow, but really good stuff when it comes to prizes for OTA and our bracket challenge. We got more to get to. You're watching OTA on a snowy Monday right here in the Quad Cities. For over 65 years, Lindquist Ford has proudly served the Quad Cities, and they're just getting started. Looking for a new ride? Check out a healthy mix of new and quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Need service? Skip the waiting room. With free pickup and delivery and mobile service, they come to you. No delays, no hassle. From routine maintenance to a full-service collision repair shop, it's fast, friendly, reliable, and always transparent. Lindquist Ford, serving the Quad Cities since 1959. Experience the difference today.
Hey, I'm the Crawford guy.
Ooh, do you guys always speak at the same time?
Sorry, guys. I'll go first. You know, if you need help with your heating or air conditioning,
Or electrical.
or plumbing, Crawford Company can solve your problem.
But what about your problem?
What problem?
Do you not hear yourselves? Take it from me, the Crawford lady.
And me, the Crawford guy.
Crawford is the comfort company.
Are you looking to take your next party, tailgate, or golf outing to the next level? You need mobile party experience. MPX features 3 top-of-the-line party trailers equipped with all the amenities you need to party like a rock star. Smart TVs, Yeti coolers, JBL sound systems, grills, bathrooms, and much more. Mobile party experience is an experience like no other. Check out my-mpx.com or call 563-514-1470 and book your mobile party experience today. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. Of course, we're talking a ton of March Madness, a ton of NCAA tournament today. Of course, the focus today on the men's NCAA tournament. The women start a day later, so we will focus a lot about the women's side of things coming up tomorrow on the show. Of course, the OTA bracket challenge is up and going. Make sure you get the link. It's on all my social media. Hit the link and win some great prizes, all of those kind of things as well. We've talked a lot of Hawkeyes already. We're going to talk Illini because it was I don't know if we want to say good, bad, or indifferent, but there was hopes of a 2 seed and maybe an early exit at the Big Ten tournament maybe might have cost them the 2 seed. They are the 3 seed. They will take on Penn and a familiar face, Fran McCaffery, getting Penn into the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2018. We talked about that with Nicholas Baer a short time ago. So that's a Friday game. And of course, the winner will play the winner of North Carolina and VCU on Saturday down in Greenville, South Carolina. Here to talk more about the Illini, the matchup, and so much more is our good friend Mike Cagley from the Illini Guys. Mike, I appreciate you doing this as always. How are you, my friend?
Well, we're doing good. We're doing good. Ready to see if you can reclaim the year. Purdue lost 4 of their last 6. Looked like they were coming into the Big Ten tournament dead on arrival and end up somehow finding a way to stop Yaxel and company and walk away with the Big Ten title. Illinois has played really some pretty rough ball since collapsing in the second half against UCLA. And Illinois fans are wanting to see them turn it around. But what has been so frustrating is this is a team that's lost 4 games in overtime. They've lost really most of their games except for Michigan and UConn are by like 4 points. So you could really make a case that you pick up a rebound here, make a free throw there, and Illinois could have 2 losses this season. Now, those 2 losses would be by like 11, 15 points. So it's not like those games, were even close.
But to elite teams, Mike, like those 2 losses are to Michigan and UConn. So it's to 2 elite teams. You look at it, and I don't want to jump in, but you have Purdue as a 2 seed, and they were a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament. And Kent and I talked about it late last week about like that's the thing that popped out to me is they struggled so much down the stretch. They were a 7 seed in the Big Ten tournament. They get a 2 seed. I guess my first question for you is, were you surprised? Did you expect a 2 seed? There was a lot of talk of 2 seeds, St. Louis, all those kind of things. Surprised, disappointed, justified? Like your thoughts on the actual seeding itself?
I don't get too much into that. The bottom line is historically, the tournaments we've been told year after year, they really don't mean that much. This year they did.
Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of put that in the is what it is category. If you were going to ask me of that clog of teams in the Big Ten, I would have probably said you've got Wisconsin's the hottest one coming down the stretch. And then I would have probably said, Michigan State is, if you figure the 3 teams that were in the running for a 2 seed, Michigan State, Nebraska, and Illinois, I would probably have had Illinois second behind Michigan State and slightly ahead of Nebraska and have Wisconsin slightly behind Nebraska. The fact that Purdue, I guess Purdue would have been a little bit between Wisconsin and Nebraska, but they're all relatively close. You look at their losses, Purdue loses 4 of their last 6 and then wins the most important 3 games in a row you can win. And if you want to argue about Purdue's seeding, then win more games. And that was where Illinois failed. And it's the margin of error that makes you think if Illinois can play well, they should be able to make it to the Sweet 16. But you've got a team that shot 21% from the 3-point line, in their last game against, and you shoot like that. 7th grade teams shoot better than that. So, you've got to play better. And then the defense has been a Achilles heel. I don't think the defense is going to get any better. Iowa fans won't like this, but right now Illinois has a distinct lack of athleticism that reminds me of an Iowa team.
Sure.
And so when they face guards that can dribble, penetrate, they're in big trouble. And we've seen it time and time again now that the records are, Boyd shredded them, Fears shredded them. So when I was looking at where they were going to go in the NCAA tournament, I just didn't want to see somebody like Arkansas or a team with a great guard in Illinois' way. Now, this time they're fortunate because I think, with Penn, of course, Illinois could get beat. This is the NCAA tournament. But with Penn, I think Illinois is probably too big for them, and Illinois should be okay. And then they play North Carolina without Caleb Wilson and with one of the Hubert Davis is not a good coach.
No.
So you got a fortunate turn, but you are playing. That's essentially a home game for North Carolina.
Yeah,
and
I didn't realize that.
If you look at North Carolina and Duke, if you research their record in Greenville, it's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So that's your X factor for Illinois.
Let's talk about the matchup. It's an 8:25, I think you said 8:25 start. Coming up on Thursday evening, Greenville, South Carolina. It is Penn, and that's it's funny. I got to give credit where credit is due. My son Charlie, we got home, we watched Penn win, and he looked at me and he's like, "Dad, they'll be what?" I'm like, I don't know, maybe a 14 seed. And he goes, how great would that be to see Illinois and Penn play in the first round? He's like, is that possible? I was like, yeah, maybe. And then it pops up on the screen and there it is. Obviously, it's Fran knows Illinois well. It's a great rivalry, and I think it got good. You know what I mean? Like, we can go through the history of this rivalry between Iowa and Illinois, and it goes way back, and it's been better. The farther back you go is probably the better. But, like, it was dormant for a little while, and then I think Fran and Brad and there was some spice to it with Io and Kofi and Luca and everything. I mean, there was some. What was it? Connor McCaffery and Demonte Williams went head to head. That picture will be everywhere. So obviously somebody that knows Illinois. Your thoughts when you see Penn and good old Fran McCaffery in round 1 of the NCAA tournament?
Well, look, Fran, my dream, anybody who listens to Eye on the Illini, my dream was if Brad Underwood would have made Fran his offensive coordinator and got Bruce Weber. Get Bruce Weber to be his defensive coordinator, and Brad just is in charge of tell those guys you don't have to leave campus to recruit because they're both darn near the best at what they do offensively and defensively. And then Brad's job is to go around and get dollars from the big NIL people so that you can give these two guys the best possible combination of players so that they can win. So I've got a lot of respect for Fran. I think there was a couple times, especially, 8-9 years ago, that, his insistence on pressing may have kept Illinois in the game a couple times. And I got his attention during a game one time, told him that. He didn't appreciate it a lot. But it was, I look at Fran as being a really good coach. And offensively, he's got to look at Illinois' defense this year and lick his chops. The big difference will be what Illinois team is going to show up from a 3-point standpoint. And defensively, will Illinois go that extra step? They're always, it's like so close. And again, you're looking at Illinois has not lost to a team. I think the lowest ranked team they lost to was UCLA this year. That's their worst loss.
Yeah.
But when you miss, let's say, 2 key free throws going down the stretch, you have a ball in your hand for an offensive rebound, and you let somebody take it. You have these moments. And so with Fran, you just want to keep this game close and steal it at the end. And, Illinois players have to be in the back of their mind going, we just got to we got to get going. Illinois had a 15-point lead on Wisconsin, and they unleashed three long threes in a row and a really hard mid-range jumper to miss, 4 possessions and turn it into darn near a tie. That's the type of crap you can't do when you're not a good defensive team. You can't do stupid shots on the offensive end. So Fran's probably figuring he can put up a certain amount of points. He's probably worried if Illinois shoots real well, they're in trouble.
You look at it, Mike, and Illinois sometimes reminds me of those good Iowa teams because, and probably better, obviously, talent-wise, but the way they play basketball, because it was for so long with Fran, it'd be like you'd watch an Iowa game and you're like, well, Iowa's up 12. Iowa's up 14. And then you'd blink and it'd be like a 5-point game or like a 2-point game. And that was what was missing. I think that drove Iowa fans crazy. One thing that's funny, and I don't know, you'll get a good pulse of Illinois fans right now. And I've seen some on social media overnight and stuff that was like, let's bring back that Fran hatred. Let's do all those kind of things. I think if there's one thing that Illinois fans and Fran have in common right now, is that neither of them really like the University of Iowa. Like there's no love lost between Fran and Iowa and what happened last year and everything. I thought it was amazing. 365 days after being let go from the University of Iowa, he wins an Ivy League championship. So that first round game, obviously TJ Power is a former 5-star recruit, really good. But you mentioned it. Like when you look at the two rosters, if Illinois doesn't let Penn hang around, that should be a victory. I guess your thoughts on the game itself. Anything can happen in the NCAA tournament. I understand that. I get that. But you're pretty confident putting Illinois in ink moving on to the next round, aren't you?
Well, of course, that's every year there's one of these upsets. But, yeah, you feel like Illinois should be able to win this by 11 to 16. They should. But you got to go out and play, and that's where this team over the last few weeks, just like, at one point, I think Nebraska was 20-0, and they ended up finishing 6-6 down the stretch. Purdue lost 4 of their last 6, Illinois 4 of the last 8. So you've got teams that have shown their Achilles heel, and if they run into an athletic team, I think if this was an athletic team, I'd be a little bit, more nervous. But you just don't know when Illinois is going to pull a, 21% shooting percentage out. And you're like, whoa, what just happened here? Because unlike a lot of teams, if Illinois is shooting 21% from the 3, they figure, well, we got to shoot our way out of it. And, they did that time and time again against Wisconsin. And if you look at it, like Merkovich was 6 for 6 inside of the 3. 1 for 7 from 3. You had Tomislav 2 for 3 inside of the 3 and 1 for 6 from the 3. You had Zeronimir, 3 for 4 inside the 3 and 0 for 4 or 1 for 4 from the 3. So it's like, guys, just throw the ball to the guys who can score on the inside when you're trying to get a point. And it's funny because like when you look at Michigan State, they don't have a lot of runs where they get burned and have a team come back on a 15-0 run, because if they have to, Fears will just take the ball and get a basket.
Yeah.
Illinois doesn't have anybody who seems willing to do that. It's like, well, if I can hit the fadeaway 3 from 21, then, I'm going to try that. And sometimes when they get up by 15, I think they get relaxed, like this is too easy, and then they just start jacking up dumb shots.
Do they miss a post presence that much? Like just a guy to throw the ball inside to. I know you got 7-footers everywhere. I'm not saying that, but they, like you just said, to get a bucket, and Wagler's there. I mean, he can get a bucket when he needs to and all those kind of things, but he's a freshman and he's been playing a lot of basketball and all those kind of things, and people are pretty physical with him. I don't know if Ked mentioned that on you guys' podcast ever, but they get a little physical with him. But do they miss a post presence, or do they have a post presence? I get the size, but is there a guy they can throw the ball inside to and get buckets?
Oh, like I said, Big Z doesn't have a good inside game, but he does some unbelievable rim runs. You could get him on pick and roll. You can run him on the weak side if somebody falls asleep. The guy who really has the post play, because he plays like he's 45, is David Mirkovic. This guy just gets people, where they're on his shoulder and they've got to go through his shoulders to get to him. And he's 6'8", 6'9", and he's not a skinny guy. And he just puts the ball up with the other hand. It doesn't matter which hand. He can do it either way. So there's times I almost think just, when you see that, get it to him. And there was a time when Ivicic, Tomislav was guarded by a 6'4" guy and passed the ball out. It's like, dude, you're 7'1". Just go dunk it, and so there's just a little bit of awareness there, maybe that fans would like to see, or maybe a little lack of killer instinct that fans would like to see a little more of, because they should be able to do. They should have the assets they need on the inside to keep teams honest, and once they do that, then they play a lot. When you get a walk-up three, it's much easier to shoot than just dribble down and pop one up. That's just not Illinois' game. The other thing, I think the Wagler situation's an interesting one for me, because I'm kind of torn on Big Ten refs this year. I think they've been unusually kind, except for a couple games, Michigan State, Wisconsin. But for the most part, defensively, they've given Illinois a lot of breaks. Illinois they're not very physical, but they don't get a lot of fouls called on them. And I think sometimes, when you're not as quick and you're trailing, sometimes you can get away with them because I think they feel sorry for you. But they haven't had as many fouls called on them as I thought they would probably have. At the same time, ever since Michigan State, they have let Keaton Wagler get wrestled. And you can tell by look at his arms in a game. He will get red from the hand, from people grabbing him, slapping him. And you can actually see the marks on his skin. And somehow his free throw attempts have dropped dramatically. And I don't think he's playing that much different, to be truthful with you. So instead of getting his normal, 8 to 11 free throws, because he's got the ball so often, which is another issue, he's shooting 2 or 3 free throws and then getting mad at the refs and gets frustrated. And so on one end, I think Illinois gets the benefit because they generally haven't got as many fouls as what they usually in a general year would get. And on the other end, Wagler, they're calling the game different because he's not really doing anything different than he did earlier in the season, but he isn't getting the fouls called. And it pivoted at Michigan State. I can't tell you that there's a conspiracy, but I can tell you, if you look at the free throw attempted, you look at his ball usage and stuff, he's just not getting those calls anymore. Who knows why? I don't know.
Sure. Mike Cagley joining us from the Illini Guys on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Mike, there's no secret that Brad Underwood likes Fran McCaffery. Fran McCaffery likes Brad Underwood. Like when Fran got let go, like Brad was one of the first people, or among the people that was like, that's a really good basketball coach. What were his thoughts of a Fran McCaffery first round matchup? And I think it's funny because I always been saying for weeks, like Big Ten teams are going to love to get out of the conference because they know each other so well. The coaches know each other so well. The talent is, and then they finally get to the NCAA tournament. You're not going to play a Big Ten team. And here comes Fran McCaffery, who knows the program and Brad and his tendencies and what he likes. What was Brad's reaction to Fran McCaffery in the first round of the postseason?
According to Matt Stevens, Illini Guys intrepid reporter, Brad was not happy at all because he did not want somebody who literally could probably close his eyes and write a 30-page scouting report without needing to even think. Probably wouldn't be so bad if he didn't respect Fran, but he does. There might be some coaches who left the Big Ten that Underwood would secretly, be like, oh, this is awesome. But Fran is not one of them. So he was not thrilled about that. I do think the saving grace, and maybe I'll be proven wrong on this, but I do think the saving grace for some teams, particularly I think Illinois and Nebraska, will be that the supervisor who runs the officials in the NCAA tournament has a different marching orders than what the Big Ten supervisor has for referees. And so you're not going to see, in my opinion, as a general rule, you got to go across all the games, not just one, but you're not going to see as much grabbing and holding allowed, which should help Hoiberg. It should help Wagler. And I think that the three teams it might hinder a little bit, I'm not saying going to kill you, but might hinder a little bit, are Purdue, Wisconsin, and Michigan State, who play more of the grabbing defense. And I think that might be, they might get a few more fouls that they're not used to having called on them. I think Iowa is also another team that I think they'll probably benefit if you have guys calling, not allowing so much grabbing and holding. Iowa's got guys who can shoot the ball, and grabbing and holding is a great way to slow them down. And so I think there are some teams in the Big Ten. I like, for example, Michigan. I don't think they care. They're that good.
Yep.
But I think some of these other teams you might see a little bit. Now, it might even out for Purdue because you also can't hold Braden Smith, which makes him really a problem to corral.
No, absolutely. Mike Cagley joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Mike, before we let you go, I want to look at the big picture when it comes to Illinois basketball. And it's funny because for so many weeks we've said, what do you think they can do? How far can they go? But you didn't know what the road looks like. Now we know the road. It's Penn, probably UNC, but you never know with VCU. And then after that, it's maybe a Houston looming. Obviously, Florida is the 1 seed in that bracket. Now that we know the road, and I think a Sweet 16 is very possible. Although you bringing up the location of that second game is interesting because you're right, that does benefit North Carolina. But with that being said, I think they're a Sweet 16 team. They'll be in the Sweet 16 in my brackets. How much farther can they go? There's Final Four talk and hope this year. There was Elite Eight, all those kind of things. Can they? And we never know what happens. You never know who beats who. I get that, but did you like the road? Is the road a doable road? Where do you see Illinois going?
I think the road is a doable one. I think because Illinois played Florida in the secret scrimmage and did quite well, depending on who you ask. Illinois won by a little bit, or Florida did, depending on, like I said, it depends on who you specifically ask there coaching wise. I would not have wanted to be in the East. That was a loaded, in my opinion, that was loaded with Duke. Johns I thought was under at 5. Kansas, so I think that was the toughest. I thought that was tough. So I think Illinois has the opportunity. They got to play Houston in Houston. And the only saving grace, and this is hilarious, but Houston's like, what, the 5th best defense in the country, which is a bad year for them. Okay.
Yeah, so they're really good.
Yeah. So, but they aren't the Houston of a year or two ago. So if Illinois shoots well, you can hope for a hot night, and that's the one thing about Illinois. They can go out and shoot 45% from the 3. Yep. And then all of a sudden they can play with anybody.
1,000%. And when they're good, they're good, Mike. Their best is good enough to beat anybody in the country. And I mean,
but the variance is so wide.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could see them beating I could see them being a Elite Eight team. I could see them losing, in the first round to Penn because you just don't know what you're going to get. And when Brad Underwood said he's still tinkering with it, it's like, well, I just watched Duke play and they aren't tinkering with anything. I just watched Arizona play and they're not tinkering with anything. Why are we still tinkering? And that goes to where Underwood has got to get a run. The NCAA single elimination means the key is to go there every year. And I think Illinois is at 7 in a row right now. So they're one of only 5 teams that have that long a record, going on. So they're moving forward and doing, what you want to do, but you do have to get those. Remember, there was one point when Bill Self, people were like, they called him Bucknell Bill, and people thought he might be out of Kansas. Then he went on a run and won a title, So Illinois needs to go on a deep run. They went to the Elite Eight 2 years ago. You'd like to get back to there again. But the real key for any of these programs is the Sweet 16, because that gives you that 5 days from Sunday until Thursday night where you're one of 16 teams in the spotlight. Now, that's not a big deal to you and me, but that's the time of the year that recruits watch NCAA basketball, because a lot of these kids watch the NBA most of the time until the NCAA tournament.
That's a good point.
That's why Michigan, even when Juwan Howard was there, that's why they could attract such talent, is he would have horrible years and then somehow end up in a Sweet 16.
Yeah.
So they that's where you want to go to get that street cred with the kids that leads to the talent that allows you to make a run.
Mike, you first and foremost, you're talking to an Iowa fan. The Sweet 16 is important because we haven't been there since 1999, Mike. 1999, for the love of God. So
not like Illinois has been there that often either, thanks to.
I looked at the brackets, and I think for me, like if Iowa can win their first game on Friday, they don't play again till later Sunday, and I'm like, cool, my kids will be happy for the whole weekend before they lose to Florida. How dare you, Mike? You didn't even bring up the possibility of Iowa versus Illinois in the Elite Eight. You just assume Florida is going to beat Iowa. How dare you do something like that?
The game I'm looking forward to in that bracket, to me, I think Vanderbilt's they should have been better than a 5.
Yeah.
And Nebraska is a good team. And that could be a spectacular game in the second round. And boy, if you've got to beat a team like Vanderbilt or Nebraska to make it to the Sweet 16, you've earned your trip.
Yeah.
But again, Iowa can shoot well any given night. It's just I think they're probably, especially when you look at Arizona, Duke, and Michigan. I guess we don't want to say that quite so much after what happened in the Big Ten tournament, but because I do think the injury that Michigan's had has been problematic for them.
Yeah.
But I think those 3 teams, talent-wise, are a little bit above everybody else. Florida's got a decent amount of talent, so they're not, but they may not be at that level, but they do have experience, and that coach is a killer too.
Yeah. Mike, before I let you go, give me your Final Four real quick. I don't know if you've picked one or done it. And even if you haven't,
I haven't gone all the way, but since I'm gonna homer this, I'm gonna say Illinois finally gets it all together, and then I think it'll be Illinois. We'll give you Duke, going into down into Arizona's. I would actually say, gosh, I think it's going to have to be Arizona there, and then I would not be surprised to see. You just don't know what Iowa State is going to show up. But I'm thinking that it's going to be either Michigan or Iowa State out of that one.
I think chalk is your friend this year, and it's going to be that way.
Yeah.
It's going to be that way because of the NIL and transfer portal and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think the days and ages of like this Cinderella stuff, like you have power teams out there that are ready to make long runs. I think it should be a lot of fun. Tell people about the Illini Guys, Mike, before I let you get out of here.
Yeah, you can go to IlliniGuys.com and just go ahead and sign up, $99 a year. what it really is good is for three things, I guess. Message boards where you can actually talk directly with Ked, Brad, myself, Matt, Larry. The second thing is we have our game room, which is one of the most insane experiences because guys are on there essentially in a massive chat during the heat of the moment, and you will hear some of the most crazy ideas or frustrations or the most highest highs.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. And then the other thing is when the portal time comes, there are very few people, and I'm not meaning to knock anybody, but there's very few people who are as tied in to as many people as Brad and Ked are.
Yeah.
So we tend to have a pretty good idea ahead of time as to what might be happening, not only at Illinois, but around the Big Ten, because these guys have been covering it for so long. Most of the coaches know who they are, and so you end up getting a lot of tidbits.
No.
So those three things make Illini Guys worth it. And, of course, you can also go and follow me, at Mike Cagley on X or at Illini_guys. And you can go to our YouTube channel, IlliniGuys.com, and get all of our videos there.
The madness is just starting, Mike, and you mentioned there's March Madness with the NCAA tournament. I think what follows, it's maybe April Madness when it comes to the transfer portal. That's equally as interesting. I always appreciate your time. Enjoy March. Hopefully it's a long one, all those kind of things. Next time we chat, we talk WrestleMania. Deal?
Oh, yeah.
Love it, Mike. Appreciate you, buddy.
Take care.
All right, that is Mike Cagley with the Illini Guys. It's well worth it. These guys know what they're doing first and foremost, but then the community and being able to be part of something and chat and all those kind of things, it's really a ton of fun. If you're an Illini fan here in the Quad Cities or anywhere in the Midwest that's watching the show, make sure you check that out as well. We got more to get to. It's Off the Air on a fun, snowy, blizzard-like Monday here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful for both the student and, yes, the parent as well. Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Monday in the Quad Cities. Monday, March 16th, 3/16, Stone Cold Steve Austin Day. If you know wrestling, you know what I'm talking about. But it's been a fun Monday. Obviously, Selection Sunday was yesterday, so we've had a busy, jam-packed show for you here today as we get ready for the NCAA tournament to kick off, or tip off, I should say, coming up on Thursday. We focused on the gentlemen, the guys today. We started things off with former Iowa Hawkeye Nicholas Baer and the Hawkeye Report's Tom Kakert talking about Iowa back in the NCAA tournament, a 9 seed against Clemson, broke down that game, talked a little Fran McCaffery, all of those kind of things. So if you missed the Bear Cage and Tom Kakert, make sure you go back and check that out. Also, in segment 2, we had Scott Harding, Brock Harding's dad, joining us to talk about TCU in the NCAA tournament, meaning Moline's Brock Harding, former Hawkeye Brock Harding, back in the NCAA tournament, or I should say in the NCAA tournament for the first time. Always great to catch up with one of my favorite people in Scott Harding. So that was a bunch of fun. And then last segment, it was all Illini all the time. Mike Cagley from the Illini Guys talking Penn versus Illinois, the road ahead for Illinois, what the possible ceiling could be for this Illini team now that the brackets are in front of us. So check that out as well. And check out Illini Guys. They do a great job there as well. So make sure you check out the Illini Guys if you're an Illini fan, or if you're not an Illini fan, go check them out as well. We want to remind everyone that we have our OTA bracket challenge up and running on CBS Sportsline. You can get a link at all of my social media, Facebook, X as well. We'll get it in the chat tomorrow. Bracket challenge, get your brackets in. Get them in before Thursday 11. Awesome prizes from a mobile party experience, a rental of one of their party trailers for a day. Godfather's Pizza, delicious as always. Snoop's, chips, salsa, enchiladas, a Visa gift card from the Crawford Company, and then also food from Hungry Hobo as well. So probably have a couple different packages when it comes to first place, second place. I can guarantee you this. Last place in the pool gets a cinnamon monkey bread from Godfather's Pizza. So we reward the best, but you that people out there that struggle with the March Madness, get yourself a little something at the end as well. So make sure you get signed up for that. We're going to rock and roll with that and get all those things out and get as many people into that as possible. We'll keep pumping that over the next couple of days for sure. Again, Thursday at 11 o'clock, make sure you head on to my social media, hit the link. If you go to CBS Sportsline, if you put in Off the Air, I believe you'll be able to get in that way as well, but we'll get the link out there all over the place today. And if you were part of our next guest contest, you'll be getting an email on that as well to get signed up. So should be a bunch of fun to get everybody involved here on OTA. And again, thank you to our sponsors for allowing us to have a fun little bracket challenge like that. A busy week, of course, coming up tomorrow. We are going to switch our attention to the ladies. They start Friday and go through Monday. So we figured we'd do the guys that are Thursday through Sunday first, and then switch our focus to the ladies tomorrow. Kyle Huseman, John Bonenkamp, talk Iowa, talk Western Illinois in the NCAA tournament. They are a 13 seed, a higher seed than maybe we expected with the Leathernecks. So we'll talk about that with John Bonenkamp. But we'll also talk a little Cyclones. Didn't do much Cyclones with the men or women today. So Jake Brenn tomorrow, talking Cyclones on the show. All of that and much, much more. We're just getting started in what should be a really fun, several weeks, but especially this week here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, get in the OTA bracket challenge and get your winners in there as well. And we will see you guys back here for another OTA coming up tomorrow.